Hey guys, this is Tom Hanks. Welcome to today's stream. We are doing the automation hatchback tuning challenge today. So this is the latest community challenge that I have done. It ends now. If you haven't submitted your car yet, I'm sorry, but yeah, now it's too late. Give me one moment though. I see that just a little bit earlier. I already had automation loaded, but now there is a new submission that did get submitted in time. I just only saw it now, so that one's on me. Give me one moment so I can import the correct one. And we will be firing up automation. Okay, so in the meantime, while we're all waiting for automation, how's everyone doing? Okay, there it is. Never mind. Don't want to know anymore. No, don't take it that way. Okay, so there is one car that still doesn't load. There's actually two. There's this and the one by Sedan 57 Chevy. Those two cars, there is a mod on them that for whatever reason fails to load. I have had some issues with other cars about this as well. Most of them have been fixed, but at this point I'm starting to believe there may be something wrong with my own automation game files. I don't know. I'm probably gonna reinstall the game after this community challenge. I didn't want to reinstall it while this was already going and I already had submissions, because I would have lost everything, including my own base car. So anyway, again, for those who missed the announcement video, the purpose of this community challenge, or the setting, if you will, is you are in 2003 and you have one of these 1990 cheap hatchbacks, and you want to tune it and turn it into a hot hatchback for not a lot of money. If the game was kind enough to actually show us the stock car, okay, there we go. So, a pretty boring little 5-door hatchback, 4-door, I guess, depending on how you see it. Yeah, 110 horsepower, which for 1990 does make it sort of a hot hatch, it has to be said. It's for its time, it's fine, but with it being 2003, obviously, and the Fast and the Furious was already out for a couple of years, and hot hatchbacks were becoming more and more common. Obviously, 110 horsepower didn't really cut it anymore. So I'm gonna go through these according to the alphabet, and so the first car will be the NPR, which I believe was coincidentally also the first car that was submitted, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, and that was by Colonel Sanders. Okay, let's see. Well, there is quite some body modification here, like deformation, I should say. I do like the updated styling. I don't know how much I like the silver color. I mean, it's not bad, but here it sort of clashes with the chrome. I like the NPR turbo badging. I don't know what that is. That square? Not sure what that is. Is it on the other side too? No, it isn't. Okay, no clue. But anyway, looks nice. Let's check out the engine. Okay, so 150 horsepower, which is 40 more than stock. Nice. We do have a slightly more aggressive cam profile, but the engine now revs up to, what is it, 7,000 RPM? 6,900 actually. We do have per cylinder configuration and performance intake. We have a high flow three-way cat, and we have no mufflers because obviously this being a tuned car doesn't really need mufflers, does it? Also, is the game too loud? I think it may be too loud. Apart from that, sure, not too bad. It is of course still a 5-speed manual transmission, as it has to be. Yes, I did receive your new file, and it does load. There are still 2 cars that don't work, and at this point I feel like it might be on my end, and I'm gonna reinstall automation after this community challenge, just to see if that fixes it. But yeah. Medium compound road tires, smaller rear tires here. 250mm up front, 225s on the rear. A decent amount of downforce actually. Well, I mean, it's not much, but there is some downforce on both ends. Okay, and then everything is pretty much the same except the active sport springs, which are nice. And semi-active dampers. A very aggressive front camber actually. And this thing is slammed. So this should handle well on a track. $24.8 mpg is good. It costs $99.99. Okay. So what we're gonna do now, obviously, is export this to BeamNG. So I'm doing these well, firstly in alphabetical order, and then because there were a few cars that had issues, then those in the order that I received the final versions of them. Next up, the by Mamo 2002, which I guess was probably by Mamo 2002, if I had to guess. It's very orange, and actually these sort of yellow lights. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that was a thing they even did anymore in 2003, but it looks cool. And what the heck is this? Oh, it's a lip as well. Okay, makes it look sort of like a snowplow. I like this. I didn't even know you could put badges on the windshield. Also, what's that? I think we had that on the previous car as well. Yeah, and it's only on one side. There's a wing on the top. This does look pretty sporty and like actually pretty racy. And it does have 170 horsepower, which is 20 more than the last car. Yep, it's got more boost probably. Yep, it does. And it revs higher as well. Okay. So there is multi-point E5, single and performance, and very rich fuel mixture actually. That gives a lot of extra power. A very big exhaust as well, just like any Rise out 90s hatchback that was, you know, tuned in the early 2000s. I mean, even today, if someone buys a sort of cheap hatchback, they always put it like a massive exhaust on it. This one's got a viscous diff as opposed to the geared diff we saw in the last car. Again, wider front tires than rear tires. And vented discs on the front, solid on the rear. More downforce than the last car. So with more power and more downforce, you would probably expect this to perform even better than the last one, although it only has the standard springs and the gas-mounted tube dampers. But it does have semi-active sway bars, which I believe the base car doesn't have. Well, it almost certainly doesn't have. Okay, but is this going to handle better than the other car? I don't know. It's actually an interesting question because these are two sort of different approaches to it. It's close to $10,000 that are allowed for this challenge. But yeah, I like it. Let's export it. Also, I haven't made my own tuned version of the base car yet, I have to say. Hey Ladovan, how's it going? I always see some Fiat Clios and Golf that have massive exhaust at the back. Yep, and Honda Civics as well. Next up is the Curiosity. That one was sent in by, let's see. Where is it? That one was by Crash Khan. I mean, sure, that's exported. I'm not gonna change anything about it. That was the wrong button to press earlier, but the decision to stop making BeamNG videos for a while was a big mistake. I don't know, man. I needed, you know, something else. I needed to play some other games. Like, it was getting too repetitive for me. So this thing, that front end is not very much like the original anymore. If you put this next to the original car, would you still recognize it? And also the rear end is like completely different. It is a Curiosity. It does deserve that name. But let's check out the engine. Now that is a very smooth torque curve and power curve. So this is an engine that is going to make for a lot of drivability, which I do like that approach. This has a freeway cat and two straight-row mufflers. Speed manual, viscous diff. 180s all around. Yeah, extremely high drivability. I think that's the highest we've seen. Might even be higher than the base car, I'm not sure. But solid discs all around. Very small brakes, actually. I guess for weight saving. The economy is really, really good. 27.8 mpg. The interior is the same. This is all the same. Or is... Actually, no, I think this has better safety. Or did I put standard safety on the stock car? I don't remember, man. I can't even remember what I put on my own car. Anyway, this is the same. And the suspension is overall, I believe, softer than stock. So this is more of an everyday car. This is not a race car. Like this is not. This is one of those cars that went into the direction of evolution as opposed to, you know, turning it into a race car. And I think that's interesting, because I cannot compare this to the last two cars we've seen, because those were clearly meant for the racetrack and this just isn't. So I might have to treat this differently from the other two cars. Evolution versus revolution. I don't know. I don't know if you can call the other cars revolution, because technically you're not building a new car. You're just updating what you've been given. Yeah, look at that. The base car has 39 drivability, and this has 46. Also more comfort and better MPG. So this is clearly more of a city car than a race car. Unlike the IMP from what it looks like. So this was built by Random 41. And whoa, look at that power figure, 266.6 horsepower. Now that is a tuned engine. The front, going from double round to double square headlights, is a little bit of a questionable decision, I think. Also, if this is the indicator, it's kind of interesting that it's covered. I mean, I guess in 2003 you would be like, hey, if it's just a chrome cover, but if you actually turn on the indicators, it'll kind of shine through. I guess that's the idea behind that sort of setup. It has round mirrors, this one, just so you can see out a little bit less, just like on a real race car. And it's got a big wing. And quad exhausts. Same sort of taillights as on the front with the headlights. So it's look at those wheels poking through the wheel arches, like yeah. If this is real life, you would drive literally 1 meter and your tires would be slid open. But I guess that's a problem that previous cars have had as well, but maybe not to the same extent as this one. Let's check. Smoke not covered, okay. Let's check out the engine. Okay, reliability is down to 32.4, 267 horsepower, revving up to what, 7,700 RPM. Very rich fuel mixture. Pistons and conrods are both not happy about this torture. I guess the exhaust could be a little bit bigger still. It does still add a little bit of power. This has a viscous diff, which is kind of interesting. Well, I guess it's a question of cost then. So the cost would not allow for a better diff on this one, it seems. Alloy rims, 225s all around, 15 inch in diameter, and then vented discs all around. Even so, we just have the slightest bit of brake fade in automation, which is kind of curious because some previous cars have not had brake fade. No, this is actually not the first car I'm judging. This is, I believe, the fourth. Not including the base car, which I quickly checked out as well, just for reference. This actually does not have very much downforce. It has just a little bit front downforce, but basically no rear downforce. At least none to speak of. Interior is the same, this is the same. The hardware here is the same, but it has been retuned. So yeah, no, I expect this to be pretty quick, but also kind of a handful. So let's export this to the to BeamNG. Also, Travik, good that you're here, because I tried both like with both headlights. Like you've sent me the car with both types of headlights, and because the original car did not load due to a mod, and neither of those two were able to load the mod either, so I'm just gonna improvise and put the lights on myself, if that's okay with you, once we get to your car. Next up is the car by Logoris. Again, a very, very high horsepower number, 245 this time, a little bit less than the previous car we've seen, the Imp. But this one has a lot more turbo lag. Here there's basically nothing before pretty much 5,000 RPM, which is very 80s-like. Very sharp cam profile. Very aggressive boost. Holy crap, one on almost 2 bars. And then multi-point injection, single configuration, performance intake. No first muffler, but we do have a second muffler. Oh! Oh! Do you see what I see? The exhaust is too small. Well, that's unfortunate, because that could have easily given him like 22 extra horsepower, or whatever the difference was between this and the last car. Anyway, let's talk about the looks. I feel like the orange wheel lip, or is that gold, whatever, or gold, orange, something, honey colored, is interesting. I don't know if... I feel like some people are gonna like it, some are not gonna like it. I do like the overall front fascia. It does look more of an evolution than some of the other cars we've seen. I like the base color as well. The rear end is very similar, of course, very recognizable when you've seen the base car. And yeah, the diffuser is nice. It's fine traffic. I'll just put the headlights on the stream later. Like, unfortunately, the entries are closed now. Well, technically the chat isn't closed, but I will not be accepting entries now anymore. But I will put some headlights onto your car. Okay, but let's check out this car a little bit more. This one's got a gear diff. Medium tires, 13-inch rims on this one. Four piston solid disc brakes up front and 2 pistons on the rear. No under tray. We do have just the slightest amount of downforce on the front. Actually lift on the rear end, which is going to be interesting through the slingshot. This is the same, this is the same. And then here we have semi-active sway bars. The rest of the hardware is the same, but the suspension is stiffer, especially the rear sway bars. Wow, those are really stiff. I'm actually looking forward to driving this, because this is curious, because the engine is so laggy. But the suspension looks to be tuned pretty damn nicely, and also the stats of 36 drivability and also 30 sportiness. I think that's the most even split we've seen so far. Price? Ah, yeah. This one's... Is it too expensive? Yeah, in fact it is too expensive. Oh, damn. Well, unfortunately, that means we will not be driving this in BeamNG. Kind of a shame. Because I feel like the handling would have been pretty damn nice on this one. But it's just a little bit too expensive. No, drive it. You see, I could drive it at a later date, but for now I want to keep things narrowed down to the cars that are actually competing. Simply because if we move over to Beam and you know, we get to this car, I might have forgotten that it was actually too expensive by the time we get there, and. I mean, I know it's a lame excuse, but it's me, you know. So you gotta consider that factor. You're gonna remind me, okay. Anyway, let's check out the TCT. This one, let's see. This one was by Terasi Kayo. I hope that was somewhat correct, at least. I like the mirror placement on this one. Generally, the white and plastic sort of contrast look is interesting and actually pretty nice. I like the rim color. Very golf look. Yep, that's what I thought as well. Even here, that's pretty much where it would say GTI. The rear end is much closer to the original, I feel. We do have a lip here and another one here. A dual exhaust. Turbo, of course, because this car just comes with turbos as standard. Japanese look? I don't see a Japanese look on this one. I mean, except sort of, you know, pseudo Impreza style hood, but the front end is a Golf. Let's just be honest. Now this has a much flatter and much smoother power and torque curve, which lends itself to much better drivability and easier control. Nothing too much out of the ordinary here. Pretty solid engine tuning. Not much to go wrong there. Geared diff on this one. We have 195s on the front, 165s on the rear with 15-inch alloy rims. We got vented discs on the front and solid brakes on the rear. Dude, the game is getting a little bit too loud for me, like for me in game. Okay. I'm gonna compensate, so I'm gonna compensate in OBS so it's not much quieter for you guys. There we go. Okay, so this is all the same, and then we have actually standard springs as opposed to progressive. I think we've had progressive on the base car. The mirrors and the hood seems Japanese, yeah, kind of. And then 1.01G is actually not bad, considering that we are on medium compound road tires. This costs $99.23, so it is within the price limit. And it appears to be a fairly rounded, although not crazy entry here. I like it. Hey KeeganBot121, so this is the AHTC, aka the Automation Hatchback Tuning Challenge. You started out with a 1990 budget hatchback, and the year was in 2003, and you had to tune it. These are the entries. Well, I guess this one, we're gonna say goodbye to this one. So yeah, I'm gonna export these to BeamNG, and then I'm gonna drive them and determine a winner. Also, I am still going to export, what was it, this one? You guys have got to remind me once we get to Beam that this was actually disqualified because it's too expensive. It's over the price limit. Alright, and the next one in line, we're just gonna have to disqualify, unfortunately, the base clone, which I couldn't find in Discord, but there was also a name of a card that I didn't find within the import, so it's probably gonna be related to this one, and that is the, let me find it, AHTC partnered with LukiSport.car by Ronnie1. So this has got to be the one. We can check it out. It's actually modified externally. Like, it does look a little bit different. And it has a tuned engine, but it's still in 1990. So that is why we have to disqualify it, because the challenge was to tune it in 2003. Next up, we have the Base Marquez Tune. This one was also a card that I've had issues with mods with, but they have been fixed. This one is by Noob Enthusiasta. That's his name. I didn't call him a noob, I just read his name. Okay, so this is also a very orange car, very bright orange. Dual headlights. I do like the front end look, I have to say. It's actually pretty cool. And also distinct. Like, it still has some sort of Golf feeling to it, but not quite as much as some of the other cars. I like the black rims. The rear end is pretty cool as well, and it's got mud flaps. Look at that. Those are probably gonna fall off in BeamNG, but that doesn't matter. I like it. So let's get to the engine. We have obviously the same 1.6 liter turbo engine. This one has 165 horsepower. Just over 1 bar of boost. Super leaded fuel, okay. Oh, super unleaded, of course. And then very big exhaust pipe. No mufflers, so this thing's gonna be loud. Okay. We got a geared diff, we got 185s, medium compound tires, vented discs, some rear downforce. I think this is the first car to have only rear but no front downforce that we've seen. $165 horsepower is nothing. I would probably disagree on a car that weighs just 1,000 kilograms. Sure, your car has 100 horsepower more, but is it gonna be able to go around corners well? That's what we're gonna find out in Beam. Because obviously with more power, it does make the car tend to understeer more once you apply a little bit of throttle. Whereas this one could be balanced pretty well, especially with the geared limited slip diff. So we're gonna have to see. Semi-active sway bars. Lots of front camber. This one is also just within the price range. It does do 25 mpg, which is nice. And also the base stats, 45 drivability and 30 sportiness, that's pretty good. I like this one, I think it's gonna do reasonably well. So that was the base Marquez tune. Donut isn't that good. Buff horses, baby. And next, the Draken by Devil. This is by Mick Z. What's the number? 233. Mick Z 233. That's the name on Discord. This one has straight 200 horsepower flat. It does look pretty fancy. Does keep the original sort of headlight and grille arrangement, unlike pretty much any other car, I think, that we've seen so far. So this is the most recognizable front end compared to the base car, but you know, you don't have to keep it that way. Golden rims, very ricey, and with actually body colored rings around here. That's just very, very ricey. Again, tires poking through the wheel arches. I like the rear end. Stays kind of true to the original, but does also modify it in a pretty noticeable way. The engine is making a lot of boost. Actually, 1.27 bars is quite a lot, but we've seen much higher, but then again, we've also seen much higher horsepower numbers than this. Revs up to 7,000 RPM. We have one straight full muffler, but no second muffler, so this is still gonna be reasonably loud. We have an automatic locker on this one, which is pretty interesting. I think that's the first time we're seeing that. The all-back trim on yours was carbon fiber. Okay. Good to know. We have hard long life road tires on this one. Is that because of budget? Yeah, most likely. So we have, excuse me, 15-inch alloy rims. We have vented discs and solid discs on the rear. Oh, 75-25 brake bias. And also like extremely small rear brake size. So it's going to be interesting. Fully clad under tray with a good amount of rear downforce. I think the most rear downforce we've seen, but no front downforce. So the hardware here is the same as on the base car, but this car has stiffer suspension, of course. The price is good, by which I mean it's below 10,000. I do like this thing, actually. Oh, even the front wheels are poking through the wheel arches. I think, like, this has a bunch of extra power over the base car. Remember, we were dealing with only 110 horsepower in the base car, and this is 200 now. So that is a big jump, and it still manages to keep this thing drivable, but also add a lot of sportiness. The fuel economy isn't awful, but also the suspension tuning looks to be pretty nice, although I guess better springs or dampers would be advantageous. It's ugly, sorry. Minus the NPR. Yours was actually the first one that I reviewed today. It was this one. So that was this one. We're gonna export it. Up for Smate later, maybe. We'll see how long this takes. Two antennas? Ah, yeah, that's right. Didn't even notice that the first time around. Next up, one car that had issues with importing mod fixtures. Now, this is by Sedan 57 Chevy. Are you around? Because I couldn't find what would be missing on this one. There's a hood scoop here, potentially some vents missing, some modded vents, which wouldn't be a big deal as far as the BeamNG part is gonna go. The wing is there. This sort of rear design doesn't lend itself towards a diffuser, which is why I don't think that was it. I do like the overall look of this thing. Just, I don't know what's missing on this one, you know? Anyway, 130 horsepower is among the lowest we've seen, but I do expect this to be very drivable. A performance intake, freeway cat. Five-speed manual, viscous diff. 175s all around. Vented discs front, solid discs rear. Could probably make them smaller. Yep, that would definitely help. Some rear downforce, no front downforce. This is the same as before. This is also the same as before. And then this is the same as before. Is the suspension tuning? I don't think that's the same. That has been revised, but it isn't even much lower, I think, than before. So I don't know, the front headlight changes are debatable, I think. Going from sort of like a dual round setup to very elongated, long, rectangular headlights. But I mean, it's got its own style. I do like the side profile that these rims and the little wing add. I just don't feel like this is going to be very competitive on the track, and we've seen better fuel economy as well. It went from 2 round to square, yeah. Okay, so we got a few more cars to go. LHGT by LHH. $193 horsepower. A very interesting and futuristic looking front end. Almost looks sort of Dodge Challenger-esque with these headlights, but the grille is maybe not quite a Challenger grille because it would be straight, as opposed to, you know, these sort of diagonal lines bending inwards as it would be straight through. But it does remind me somewhat of a Dodge Challenger. It's got a rear wing. It's got dual rear exhaust. Look at the left headlight. Yep. Yeah, that's like on the Challenger, because that is where the supercharger intake would be on the Challenger. Yep. Let's check out the engine. Whoa. Really early turbo response, and then just peak torque is at like 6,600 RPM. How high does this rev? 8,500. So unfortunately we have to disqualify this car because we were not allowed to change the internals. As soon as I saw this curve and then these maximum RPM numbers, I thought, oh, let's check out if the internals are still all cast, and they're not. Yeah, unfortunately, that's actually a shame. But let's check out the rest of the car. 5-speed manual, geared diff. 15-inch alloy rims on medium tires. We have 1 piston vented discs up front, 1 piston vented discs on the rear. Interesting brake balance. Some downforce on the rear and just a little bit of downforce on the front. And then we have no changes here, no changes here. Semi-active sway bars now and slightly revised suspension, I'd say. The price is still okay, but sadly we still have to disqualify this for the changed internals. Bummer, because I think this would have actually done pretty well. So there's 2 cars now that we need to... that I actually don't wanna export now because they're done, like they're disqualified, the Logoris and the LHGT. But if we're gonna export one and drive it outside of the competition, we might as well do that with the other car as well. Also, I know I asked this earlier, but Sedan 57 Chevy, are you here? Just so we can check out the whatever was missing on the car. Because I couldn't figure it out. It may have been sort of like a front diffuser or something. Next up is the Ultimate, which is by ALMAOB. I think this was imported just fine, or is there a wing missing? Anyway, the front end is kind of interesting. That's it's definitely more on the unique side from what we've seen. The color is sort of like a nice, well, not really cherry red, but a little bit darker than cherry red, I'd say. But close enough. Candy apple red, that's, I think, what I was looking for. 165 horsepower. I mean, if you were in this situation and, you know, let's say you didn't tune the car yourself, but you gave it to a tuner and it had 110 horsepower before and now it makes 165, it would feel like an ultimate car now. I can tell you that much. In such a small car, 55 extra horsepower from 110 to 165 is actually pretty enormous. This has very rich fuel mixture, actually. We could probably increase the compression by 1 more point, or alternatively lower this a little bit and still make 165 horsepower. So that's just a slight optimization to be done. Exhaust could probably be a little bit bigger as well for just a few more horsepower. We've got a geared diff. We've got medium compound tires, 14-inch alloy rims. Mine makes 266, 267, that's ultimate. This is mild. I mean, okay, but imagine this. Imagine you are the owner of the base 110 horsepower car and you give it to a tuner, and then what you get back is a car with 267 horsepower that has basically no power below like 4,000 RPM, and then all of a sudden it comes on with so much boost that it really scares you off. Like yes, that's another kind of experience compared to this. But anyway, this makes a little bit of front downforce, actually rear lift. And then we have standard springs in this one as opposed to progressive. The suspension is mostly the same as stock, maybe a little bit stiffer all around. And this is well below the $10,000 price limit. That's why I have a clutch. Well, but it will overtake perf cars in a straight line. Perf cars? I don't know what that means. I was in a Peugeot 208 that has 450 horsepower. Yeah, that is That is pretty insane because I once drove. Oh, performance. Okay. I once drove a V8 Audi R8 with 420 horsepower, which felt pretty damn quick. But a Peugeot 208 with more horsepower than that, yeah, that I imagine that was probably a little bit crazier. Straight line isn't everything. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was waiting for there. And then we have the lively tempo, which is the car where we need to put some headlights on because the mod didn't load. So let's do that real quick. So the headlights used. Wait, it does not actually import any mods on my game, so that might be the issue there. Okay, so there's some sort of general issue with my game. I have subscribed to all of the mods on the Steam Workshop, but the ones that are for the new version, like ever since they made that one update that got rid of all the mods, everything that came after is just not working here. How have I not noticed that? Well, given the shape given the shape of the headlight that the user told me was being used, I feel like the closest we can get to that would be this. Maybe? Or maybe this. If we change the indicator. If we change the indicator to be also a regular headlight. If you move it like there. Or maybe turn it upside down like that. They're better. Oh, this? Maybe? Wait. Let's check out this. But which version of it? I guess like this? But more like that, I would assume. Maybe? So? Like this or like this? Like so? Okay, the previous ones. So these ones, okay. Let's use these then. And maybe resize them a little bit. Then put this on top of the headlight. Like so. Is that okay? They're pretty. Okay. Right. Let's keep it this way then. Is everything else about the car okay, or is it just was it just the headlights? Do you recognize it, if anything is missing? A wing maybe, or? Else we can continue with the car. Just the headlights, okay, good. So we have 160 horsepower in this car. Oh, that's a very smooth torque curve actually, I like it. Not the most powerful car we've seen, but power isn't all that matters. It revs to 6800 RPM, which is pretty nice. And then we have no first muffler and a baffled second muffler. Very big exhaust diameter. We have a geared diff. We have 200mm front and rear tires on medium compound, alloy rims, vented discs front and rear. We have no under tray. Same interior, same driver 8. Semi-active dampers and sway bars, so that's gonna be nice. We have a lot of front camber, 1.04G. That's among the highest we've seen, I think. How about the aerodynamics? Okay, nothing. So this costs $99.49, which is within the limit, of course. 26.3 mpg is good. I wonder how this is gonna handle like the slingshot, because with no aerodynamic fixtures whatsoever, it might be a little curious. And last but not least, I'm gonna do a little tune myself. Like I'm gonna tune the base car myself. That's also going to be outside of the competition. It's not going to actually... It's not actually going to compete with your guys' cars, but just for fun, you know. Trim and variant. So we're going to go to the engine and gonna go to 2003. Okay, and now the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move up the rev limiter to 7000 RPM. Okay, and I'm also going to run this on 95 octane fuel with performance intake. I'm not gonna go crazy on the power, because I want a car that is still manageable to drive. And I'm gonna get rid of the mufflers. So I want something that is gonna get good performance, but still remains drivable. So I want like a smooth power and torque curve as opposed to, you know, a big spike. Okay, so that doesn't do anything anymore. I am gonna increase the boost though. So 1 bar of boost is fine for now. And there is something limiting the top end power, and it's probably the cam profile. Yep, there we go. Okay, so if we do this, then we can go tweak this a little bit more. Yeah, okay, we're gonna worry about the wheel spin a little bit later. We can still increase the ignition timing by quite a bit. This is actually not helping us that much. 185 horsepower is, I think, with this sort of power and torque curve, is what I'm gonna be happy with. Because we have a long torque and power band that will actually be usable, and we will be able to do a lot of good things with this. So now for the mods, or the body modifications, I should say, I am going to put something like this on here. I'm gonna move it to the side for just a second, and I'm gonna get rid of this. Are they facing the right side now? Yeah, I think this is the way they should go. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put a different grille and front bumper on here. It's going to be something like this, right over here. And then these are gonna go. Instead, I'm gonna use different vents here. Not quite sure which ones, probably something like this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And also, no, that's not what I into. Yeah, okay, there we go. The indicators as well as some fog lights are gonna go down here. Actually, no. I'm gonna leave these here, and I'm gonna do something like this, and then that just made it look more golf-like, but you know. I'm also gonna add a front lip. Just for a little bit of decoration, I'm gonna add a bumper bar on the side. What's this? Not quite sure what that is, but it's there. Gonna mirror that, and then I am gonna put a wing on the rear. Now the thing is, I think I want this. Just so you can't see shit when driving this car. I mean, you could do that. But then that doesn't really do anything. That is probably as as big as this would still be useful, but also would not hinder the driver as much. And just for a little bit extra consistency, I'm gonna make this all plastic. I'm gonna delete this lone single exhaust pipe, and I'm gonna move the number plate a little bit further up. Then I'm gonna... Which ones of these are the outer ones? No, it's the wrong one. I'm gonna try and... Yep, and then this is the outer one, so this is gonna be orange, and then this is going to be white. Okay, there we go. So now we have everything in one arrangement. Also, I need to change the trim year to 2003. And then we had something made here. I don't think I want it though. So instead, we may as well use something from here. There's so many variations of some different grills and vents. I think something like this would be fine. Actually, no, more like that. Yeah, but then we need to move these on top. Move that up here. Flip this upside down. Oh, the frame of the car is poking through. So I think what we need to do is we need to go here and pull this a little bit outwards. And a little bit further perhaps. Oh, it's good for active fixtures. Can I not move? Okay, there we go. Like if this had a different color, we would probably... I don't know, is the number plate bugged like this on for everyone? Like that it's not showing whatever it should be written on there? Is that the case for everyone? And I'm gonna add... Actually, no, I'm not gonna add any lights to this arrangement. I'm gonna add the exhausts though. So... It's not what I wanted. Exhausts, maybe? I can't select the exhaust anymore. I wanna mirror these. Then put these back like here. Good. I think I'm okay with the aesthetics now, except for the color. For this, I'm gonna just simply make it like I don't know. I'm gonna make a new color real quick. We're gonna want less flake because this is 2003. Decent shine, and I'm gonna use like... Wasn't it blue before? I think it was. So let's change it up a little bit, make it like flashy green. Sure, why not? Okay. Right, wheels. We want, first of all, a medium compound tires. We want bigger rims. I think the brakes as they are probably gonna be fine. Maybe a little bit bigger on the front. We need more power on the front, actually. I think 6832 is about as far as I'm willing to go, because we do have to consider that that BeamNG is a thing. I do want a reasonable amount more front downforce, and I want some rear downforce as well. Okay. Also going to take a fully clad under tray, and then here I'm gonna take active sport suspension with adaptive dampers, which I think actually makes this too expensive, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So let's go back to progressive. Actually, between gas monotube and adaptive, there's a big price difference. I didn't realize that the difference was so big. Okay, we're still within budget now. Are we still? Yes, we are. Okay, so now we can do some more tuning. So I'm gonna go to like 1.5 here and then 1 here. Then overall this suspension needs to be stiffer. I think something around like this would be fine. And then let us see what else we can do. Do we benefit from going down to 1 piston rear? Yeah, we do. Could probably benefit from wider tires as well, but I think for that we need to flare the wheel out just a little bit. I think 195s is about as good as we're gonna get. 9847. Can we put alloy rims on this? Or is that too much? No, it isn't. Okay. 4D drivability. Okay, I think I'm good to go now. So this is gonna be my own tune for this. And we're gonna export that as well. I don't care that the rims look like that. I just forgot, to be honest with you. Okay, and then we're gonna head over to Beam. While this is exporting, I'm switching over to the BRB screen for just a moment while we fire up the game. Also, allow me 1 second to take a drink. Okay, we're back, and there is Beam. So, I am going to test these on the handling circuit, because I think that these cars are going to be much better suited for this sort of track, because they're small, short wheelbase, should be very, very pokey and, you know, quick on the turning. So that is why I think this track is better suited than the larger automation track. So for reference, I'm gonna quick on the turn. Yeah, responsive, or they're gonna be fun little city cars with relatively quick turning. So first of all, I'm gonna drive the base car for reference, and then we're gonna start with the other cars. Yeah, there is a little bit of lag the first time you drive on any given track in BeamNG when the map is loading in. It does turn, like, there isn't a ton of understeer on this. There is a lot of wheel spin because of the open diff, but it actually does take the corners fairly nicely. But there is a little bit of understeer, of course. Okay, there it really did pull to the outside, but I might have also hit the gas a little bit too soon. There's the understeer, okay. Okay. Wheeler Build, thank you for subscribing, and that is actually, let me check, that should be a YouTube subscription. Maybe? Streamlabs, please? Oh, it doesn't say. But anyway, now we are going to go ahead and actually do some time trials on this very track. Automation test track. Handling course. And now let's see. So yeah, I think this is gonna be the first. And actually, I should have used my own tuned car first, just for. Well, I could also drive my own tuned car last, I guess. This always takes a long time to spawn. But what's with that side mirror? This immediately feels more responsive, but on the front-wheel drive car, you're never gonna get rid entirely of the understeer. It's just how it is, you just gotta get used to it. But this one does manage to handle it relatively nicely. You know what, this may only make 130 horsepower, but it does feel quite a bit more powerful actually than the base car. Even though inevitably in 2003 the cars are lighter. Oh, sorry, the cars are heavier, just because basic 2003 entertainment is a lot more electronic stuff than basic 1990 equipment or entertainment. $138.682. Can I not, like, set the laps 1? Next up is the Marquez. Okay. Okay, this feels substantially quicker than the 2 cars before. That may have been me being a little bit late on the brakes, but well, yeah, this actually does feel pretty solid, I have to say. As far as handling goes, in these sort of tight and twisting turns, this is good. This is actually very good. I'm gonna cut this corner. I'm gonna do that with every car though. 131.942. Okay. Well, change configuration, and we're gonna change the car. There's the NPR. I feel like that was probably a very good time already. But we'll see. There's a lot more cars to come. This was just the second one. I have to say this doesn't feel quite as quick as the Marquez did. Also, the FPS are sort of tanking a little bit. I don't know why. No, 133.1, sorry. Well, we're not gonna race the base car. There's the Mamo 2002. I feel like I may just want to lower the quality settings a little bit, because I don't know. I want the game to be a little bit smoother, like running smoother, just so I can, you know, have the best possible experience for myself. Oh, this doesn't pause. Right, okay. Let's pull the handbrake, adjust the settings, and then just a restart. So I don't want light race. Don't want to fog in the distance. And I'm also going to, let's see. Overall quality custom. Let's turn off SSAO. Actually, display shadows, I'm gonna go partial. And SSAO off. Okay, there we go. I think that should be better. This feels very responsive as far as the turning is concerned. Again, you're never gonna get rid of all of the understeer on a front-wheel drive car. But you can get rid of some of it, and this car certainly does. I don't know if this is going to be quite as quick as the Marquez. The Marquez did really well. Because this feels good, but I think the Marquez was a little bit quicker still. Yeah, definitely. Wow, this was actually the slowest so far. Huh. Didn't feel bad at all. Well, it was the second slowest behind this. We're gonna test the Curiosity later. Now, which one was the one that we had to disqualify? This or the LHGT, right? And also the Logoris. Yeah, those two. So next up is the Draken by Devil. Oh, give me a second. We need to lock the diff. Maybe we shouldn't have. Yeah, okay, now this does not handle very well. There's not a lot of initial turning, and there's a lot of understeer if you try and accelerate out of the corner. Yeah, I should have downshifted to first there, I guess. Wow. I don't know if you can see what I'm feeling right here, but the amount of understeer, we barely managed to dodge that. 138.8. Okay, that's the slowest. Very disappointed by that, because I actually did like this in automation. I do like the way that the aesthetics were changed. Next up, the Imp. power. Yeah. So let's see how this does. That's yours, isn't it, Lada fan? Shit. Yes. Okay. You know what? It's not that bad. You do have to adapt to the fact that you need to start turning into the corner a little bit earlier because it's a little bit lazy with the initial turning in. But then it's actually not bad. It actually jumped there, and it does make a lot of power, of course. I think it's the only car that shifted into third onto on the little straight there so far. Okay, a good result, but not quite first. Good result nonetheless, though. The difference between this and the Marquez is, for one, this makes a lot more power, but the Marquez handles so well. It's so responsive, doesn't have very much understeer at all, and it's still no slouch in a straight line. So we need to disqualify this. Next up is the Libelli Tempo. Okay. Very long gearing on this one, actually. Very aggressive front end. This feels like a go-kart, dude. The front of this car feels so sharp and pointy. Oh my goodness. There I was a little bit late on the brakes. Shit, I might actually want to redo this run just to not brake late there. But even so, this is 3 seconds faster than the Marquez. 3 seconds faster. And that was a good car. Okay. What the? Like, the way this turns is so far beyond any of the other cars so far. It's almost like this is a completely different type of car. It feels so much more aggressive on the when turning in. Easily the best racing car we've had so far. But we have a couple more. Do we need to do a rerun, chat? Or is 3 seconds of difference already a big enough gap? Tell you what, this doesn't feel bad either. But the first split time isn't as good as the last car. The Libelli. See, it isn't always about the power. And that just proved that right there. This handles well, dude, but compared to the Libelli... This came second, didn't it? Yeah, really good. Why did mine not do that good? Honestly, how this car is as quick around corners as it is, I have no idea. But... well, the problem with yours, Lada fan, was just wheel spin. Wheel spin. I guess you can really have too much power, especially on a track like this. Can we have a track race? I mean, that's not really relevant for this sort of... I mean, we can have one for fun, but it won't affect it won't affect the results. You know what? This one does actually hug corners really tightly as well, but then there's the understeer. Oh, we have a new second place here. Didn't want to jinx it, but this did also feel very, very solid around these corners. Now, before we get to the disqualified cars, I want to drive my own tuned car here, and just to have a point of reference for where I stand. If I just make like a, what was it, a 10-15 minute tune on my car, just to see how well that does. It's I don't expect to come top 3, to be honest, because those cars were really, really good. How do you know how to program? No, I don't. I haven't taken programming classes yet. I mean, maybe I want, maybe I would one day, but for now I'm visiting a class twice a week that is for server and network administrator. Yeah, I could have definitely done better on this car. Like, it understeers quite a bit. There's no way I'm probably gonna even be top 5. Well, at least I'm gonna be top 10 probably. Oh shit. Well, yeah. With if you subtract 1 second there, it's due to the if you subtract 1 second there due to the accident, I'm still not. Well, I'm still not last, even so. So yeah, the Draken was a major disappointment, but I would have been second to last with this tune. Though keep in mind, of course, you keep in mind, of course, that you guys had more time to tune the car than I did on the stream. Could you do another lap on my car just for curiosity? Sure, let's do that and then tune the cars that were disqualified. And now, how is your car so fast around corners? How did you do that? Honestly, I have no idea. 127.6. Seems like the suspension is quite soft. Are the tires wider on the front than on the rear on this car? I think they are. But we've had other cars that had this sort of setup with the tires. Let's get to the disqualified cars, so the LHGT and then the Logoris. Same size. How the heck does this car handle so well? How did you do that? I have to check the exact suspension tune in automation again. Yeah, didn't want to say it before, but this car does like to understeer. It is quick when you get on the power, no question about that, but the wheel spin and the understeer is what's killing this thing. Once again proving that power is not everything. That being said, it's not bad. 132.4. Decent time. Then we have the Logoris, and then we're gonna try the Curiosity in the city, because that car was not built for the track at all. And it would be unfair comparing something that is clearly not built for the track to other track cars, you know? So the question is then going to become, is that car as good through the city as the Libelli is on the track? This understeers quite a bit. Yeah, this has a lot of understeer. Man, the FPS are really tanking. I don't know why. What do you think of the Passat W8? I think it's probably the least boring Passat ever made. It's actually a pretty cool engine. I'm just not a huge fan of the Passat. So yeah, let's try free roam and then go to drive. Free roam. West Coast. Industrial area, sure. And we're gonna spawn with the Curiosity. I think my car is the fastest due to your headlights. I mean, fair point, but I don't think that's that's all the difference. So, I'm gonna drive this around town for a bit. Pretty quick car. Less than 8 seconds, 0 to 100 for a city car. Gaming Radios, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. This does actually handle decently well. It's responsive. There's not a lot of wheel spin. It did actually not like going over that. Decent stopping distance. Okay. Just in case we damaged anything, let's do a quick respawn. I know I damaged like the front fender a little bit earlier, but I don't think it damaged the suspension, so... Pulls decently uphill. Yeah, so this is perfectly functional here. Whoa. Shit, okay. So that is a flaw. It does not like to jump. I mean, not that you'd really go over these at like 100 kilometers an hour, but it was there to illustrate like the suspension trouble and how well this soaks up bumps. And the answer, unfortunately, is not well. And you do need some speed to really test this adequately. The rear bumper is shaking as if it was like polymer. Overall, this is a fairly reasonable city hatchback, but the suspension is not good enough to really soak up the bumps well. I'm gonna test my base car in comparison to this. I'm not gonna test every car in the city. I was only gonna test that one because it really isn't a race car from the way it's set up. So yeah, as you can see here, this does understeer a significant amount more than the Curiosity that we just drove. But I want to see how well this does over those bumps. I don't want to go over that there, so let's do this. And I also want to see how well this pulls up the hills in comparison. Do you know what? For 110 horsepower up these steep slopes, this isn't bad at all. Let's get up to about 100 kilometers an hour like on the other car. Much more stable. Yeah, look at that. Easy. So as a result of the fact that we tested everything else on the track and found that this was tuned to be a better city car, I guess the conclusion is this. This car is not as good of a city car as this is a race car. I'm also gonna test this on the in the city because this only makes 130 horsepower as well. Who's gonna drive 100 kilometers an hour down these slopes? Probably no one. But there isn't too much more of a chance to really test how well a car handles bumps. So we gotta artificially come up with a scenario that would test this. And that's what I've chosen. ...267 horsepower in the city. I don't think it's gonna go well. Very good brakes on this car, by the way. Pulls up the slopes nicely. Even so hard that it jumped so far that it sort of bounced off the... Like it hit the rear bumper when landing. It did a sort of secondary bounce there, interesting. Same there. It didn't get unsettled, but it is still kind of stiff. That's why the secondary bounce was there, I guess. See, now everyone's gonna want their car to be tested in the city. That's the problem. Like, we have a winner. This isn't gonna affect the outcome. The only car that I really wanted to test here was this, because it was clearly not designed to be taken on a racetrack. Whereas everything else was from the setup. So I guess there is a clear winner, and it's the Ribelli Timpo, simply because this was unreal on the track. No idea how it managed to do such a great time on the handling track. Like, even with the first lap that I did, where I braked way too late on one of those corners, it beat second place by like what, 1.8 seconds, and then on the second clean lap, it beat it by like 3 seconds. So 3 seconds on a tight handling track ahead of second place. That's just insane. So congratulations to Tarvik125 for building the best tuned hatchback in this challenge. I mean, I guess just for the lulz, let's just to round up the stream, let's drive this in the city as well, and then we're gonna end it here. Holy crap, this is fast compared to the other two cars. Need to remember I'm driving kind of a go-kart here. With way sharper steering than... Oh. Okay. With way sharper steering than pretty much most supercars that I've driven in BeamNG. It is kind of soft though, isn't it? Because I wasn't expecting this to roll there. Anyway, treat this as sort of the victory lap, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, make sure to follow me on Twitch if you haven't done so already. If you have Amazon Prime, you can use that to sub to my Twitch channel for free. And other than that, of course, like the video on YouTube once it goes there, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I guess that's pretty much all of the outro that I needed to say. Holy shit, this is already faster than anything else up these hills that we've tested so far. Yeah, this is too fast. I need to back off the throttle here a little bit. I think we've bent the rear bumper a little bit. It actually did okay there. You can see that the rear suspension is way less, way stiffer, I guess, than the front suspension. Interesting. I'm gonna look at the exact suspension tune of this car again afterwards, just to see how the heck it did so well. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.